Hey, Pete here for Studio Live today. Now, if you're anything like I am, you want to absorb and take in as much content about audio and recording as you possibly can. So today, I'm going to tell you the 5 essential podcasts that you should be listening to here in 2017. Let's go. Now, what is a podcast? Probably something to cover first of all. A podcast is an audio show, so think of it like a radio show, but instead of being on the radio, it is produced and distributed via a podcast method or RSS. But we don't need to go into the details of that. All you need to know is to listen to a podcast, you just need a phone or a computer, and you need to go and grab the MP3 file either in your podcast app or download directly, and you can listen to that podcast. So all of the links for all of the shows I'll be talking about here today are listed down below. So without further ado, let's jump in to the first of our essential 5. Recording Studio Rockstars with Lidge Shaw. Lidge is an audio engineer, professional, studio owner out of Nashville, and he has an epic beard. Not that really affects you on an audio podcast, but he's a really cool guy. His podcast has been running for a couple of years now, and it's an interview format show. So he'll have a guest on every week, and those guests range from audio engineers to songwriters to people in the technology and the music gear industry. And he has a really great interview format where he goes into detail with these guys and girls about their history, about what got them started in music, and really delves into their story. But at the same time, he brings it back to some really good questions. He brings it back to some good questions and gets good advice from these guys about what it is that they have done or that they think you can do to have better recordings. So really entertaining show, a great podcast for getting information and learning about different people in the industry and getting some really good hints and tips as you go along as well. Bobby Osinski's Inner Circle. So Bobby Osinski is a bit of a legend in terms of audio engineer, recording. He's written hundreds of books, not quite, but he's written a lot of books about the recording industry, about the music industry. And what is great about his show is that not only does he have great guests, similar to Lidge's format, he has an interview format, and he goes into detail with these guests. And again, they are a wide range of people from across the industry. But he also has a really great segment at the start of every episode where he has 2 or 3 short stories about the music industry, about what's happening in streaming services, what's happening in royalties being paid to musicians. So it really is a musician's podcast as much as it is an audio engineer's podcast. And that's what I find really good about Bobby's show. Check out the details down below. Bobby also has some great training videos. If you're a lynda.com member, you can actually go in and watch a lot of his videos in there, and he does sell a lot of his courses as well via his website. Again, details down below. The Mastering Show. Now, don't freak out if you're not a mastering engineer or you're not that interested in the mastering process. This show with John Tidy and the host Ian Shepherd is not only about mastering, but it covers a lot of topics across recording and mixing and technology and digital audio workstations. The host, so Ian Shepherd, is a renowned mastering engineer with a lot of experience, and his website productionadvice.co.uk has a lot of great information and a lot of information and resources about mastering. John Tidy has been in the industry again for a long time and has a special place with me because he runs reaperblog.net. So he's an expert in Reaper, which if you're not familiar with Reaper, it's an amazing DAW, digital audio workstation, really cheap, in fact free to try. They don't pay me to say any of this, but it's definitely worth checking out if you're in the market for a DAW. But back to the show. Again, a really good show with information. The format is the two talking about a topic each week. So there's a number of different topics that they've covered over the many shows. So it's a great show to go back and pick and choose or listen to every episode. I'm sure that they would love you to do that. But you can actually see what the topic's about. And if it's something that really interests you, you can jump in and listen to that. So that's the Mastering Show, again with Ian Shepherd and John Tidy. Home Studio Corner with Joe Gilder, also known as the Ask Joe podcast. Now, I was questioning whether I include this because Joe has unfortunately taken a bit of a hiatus from this show for the last about month at last check. But the good news is that there are so many episodes, and Joe has been doing this for so many years, that the back catalogue of episodes going from July 2017 backwards is going to be enough to keep even the biggest audio enthusiast happy for a long time. So the format of this show, as the title suggests, is a question and answer show. So Joe Gilder is, again, an experienced online figure. He is an audio engineer, he's a musician, he's an expert in recording, expert in PreSonus's Studio One DAW. So he brings all of that knowledge and information together and asks questions via his Facebook page and via his email, via his website, and also live. So the great thing about this show is not only can you listen in podcast form, but again, when Joe is actually doing the show, he does a live YouTube webcast as well. So you can actually ask questions live and interact with him live on the show. So, as I said, not happening right now, but I didn't want to leave it out because it's been running for so long. It's such a great resource. And as I said, if you go back either on YouTube or via the podcast and listen to the past episodes, you're going to get some great information and some really good stuff out of Joe's Ask Joe podcast. And last but not least, and this is not a countdown or a top 5, this is just 5 that I listen to every week, and I think that you should as well, or every month, or whenever they come out. And this last one is the Simply Recording podcast. Simply Recording podcast with its host Graham Cochran and Joe Gilder. So Joe gets a second mention in this video. And this has been running since 2006. No, not that long. It's been running for a while. It's a really great show, released about once a month on a bit of a flexible schedule. But it's, again, one of those shows where you can go back and listen from show 1, and the information that they have in each of these shows is as relevant today, in most cases, as it was back then, with a few little tweaks and changes with technology. But the real focus of this show is, as the name suggests, to get back to not necessarily the basics of recording, but to focus on what is important about recording, which is getting it right at the source, which was in fact the first episode of the show, was all about getting it right at the source, and how to make sure that you're really focusing on the music and writing a good song, recording a good song, mixing well, mastering and releasing. And why I love this show and why I love Graham and Joe is that they are all about releasing music, about getting your music out there and sharing your art. And that's something that I have been inspired by in the last year, especially in terms of getting this content out and in terms of releasing my own EPs and albums and singles as well. So Simply Recording podcast, definitely one to check out. So that's going to do it. That is my Essential 5 podcast that you should be listening to right now if you want to get some really great information and advice about recording and about releasing your music. So what have I missed? If you're listening to other podcasts that you think are amazing that I don't know about, by all means put them in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you're listening to and what you're getting some great information from. Until next time, thank you for watching. Now go out there and grab yourself some podcasts and get listening. I will just wait for this bus to get out of the way. Go bus. Nobody wants you.